Welcome to Edgework on the Hammer Betting Network. Zack Bodenstein with the guys from the fourth period. Dave Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein. Sorry for the delay. My computer was just pulling a Toronto Maple Leaf, so we're good now. What a night it was yesterday in the NHL. So much to talk about, and obviously with the smaller slate today, we could talk a little bit more about yesterday's games. The Penguins' brutal loss, which we'll get into because Pittsburgh plays tonight. Carter Hart, maybe for the heart, not actually, but for lack of a better pun, we'll talk more about Carter Hart in tonight's game as well. But before we get to anything, I think the question that you guys have been asked probably more than anything in the last week: how was Mullet Arena? I got to ask you guys. Like, you guys were there for the Coyotes home opener and technically the Mullet Arena NHL opener. Dave, we'll start with you. What was your impression of Mullet Arena?
For what it was, or I guess what it is, it's a great building. It was a cool setting. It was a really cool vibe. The student section was rowdy. I mean, again, for what it is, it's cool. Is it ideal? No. Do you want to be playing in a environment with 4,600 fans only filling the building? No. But given the circumstances, you got to make the best out of it right now. And I think they did a good job. Again, really nice arena, DB. I mean, I think you'd agree that it's a beautiful setting for what it is. It's just, 5,000 seat rink.
Oh, it's a great setting, right in the middle of ASU's campus. It's a brand new building. Yep. It's nice and clean. It's easy to get to. It's the opposite. If you've ever gone to a Coyotes game before this season and you had to travel from the Phoenix airport out to Glendale, which is probably 30 to 40 minutes, I totally get it. This is a means towards an end. To use another gambling analogy, the NHL is pot committed to Arizona, right? They've thrown so much in the pot. They're not pulling out now. Yeah. Now, the deal for the new building goes south and they don't get a new building. Of course, you can't play in this arena forever. It's probably going to be closer to 5 years than 3 years, right? Because they have to do some environmental studies. Zach, they're building this arena supposedly on top of a city dump, which is kind of an analogy for what's been going on in the desert for 25 years. But I think for the fans out of the market that want to criticize this, it's like everything else. Like they criticize Dustin Brown getting a statue in Los Angeles. Yeah. In Buffalo, like who cares? Like if you don't like the setup in Arizona, fine. The fans enjoyed it. It's a means towards an end, and this is not the first time this has ever happened where a professional team is, played somewhere temporarily. And I'll give you the example. I live in Los Angeles. The first year the Chargers moved from San Diego, they played at Dignity Park, which is 25,000 seats, which is not close to being NFL. And most nights, 20,000 Eagles fans or Packer fans or whatever were in the building. So. I get this, whether you like it or not, the league is committed to this market. I think it's the seventh biggest market in the United States. I had a great time. The sight lines were great. The Coyotes say they're making more revenues in that building than the old building. And to be honest, they didn't have another option. They killed the relationship with Glendale. That wasn't happening anymore. The current owner, who's going to be the former owner of the Suns, hates the Coyotes. They can't play downtown. There was no other options if you want to play in Arizona. So I get it. We had fun. And I would suggest that fans out there that want to criticize, go out there, especially if you're in the Northeast, go play some golf on an off day. Go to the game if your favorite team's playing there and experience what we did because we had a really nice time.
And I gotta add, they don't have regular size beers. They've got the big boys, and they're only $14.
Oh,
like compared to other rinks, like if that's LA, Toronto, it's like $18, 17, 18, $19. Like, and the hot dogs are $6. So.
It's a college campus. I mean, you got to have somebody. And Zach, the one section, they have a student section behind one of the nets where it's not even seats, it's benches from like $25 to $50 you get in. So that atmosphere will be there. Plus, if you like nightlife, Dave and I experienced the nightlife in Tempe as well. A pro tip: stay at the West. If you're going to go to a game there, stay at the Westin Tempe. You're 100 yards from Mill Street, which has probably like 10 to 12 bars that you can walk up and down because that's where Arizona State is. So you can have a really great time as a destination for hockey. I'm not sure how hard the Coyotes will push that for visiting teams, but our experience was fun. You got it. And even the players said, look, Blake Wheeler said it best. I've played in worse rinks, right? I get it. This is not the NHL. This is not an NHL level rink. It's not the big time, but the players don't care. It's still 200 by 85 when they drop the. So why do they care if there's kids sitting behind the bench, or behind one of the nets, in the student section? So again, but it can't last forever. That's the one thing. This is not a permanent home.
And it helps when you win. They got a win last night on home ice. Their first one, 3-1. The hell's going on there, Florida? But they got
against the artist formerly known as the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, apparently.
Yeah, and I think Pierre-Luc Dubois also said it was one of the best rinks he's ever played in. So if the players like it, I mean,
ice-wise, yeah. It was funny. We were looking at the ice. We're going, wait a second. I think is it bouncing around a little bit? And then it was so fresh and so clean. The puck was just going. I thought it was bouncing all over the place. So I thought the divots and everything in the ice were really affecting the puck and play, but it was just so smooth that the puck was gliding so effortlessly. It turns out, and yeah, like you said, Dubois and a few other players have said it's just the ice is just fantastic.
Nice. So that's our travel and tourism section with the fourth period. So let's get into last night's games because there was a lot going on. I just wanted to get your thoughts on Mullet Arena. Now, Vegas was a team that we were probably higher on coming into the year. A lot of people were lower because of how last year finished and the injuries coming into the year. But just throwing some numbers out, they have two really good goalies, as we know. Bruce Cassidy's put in a really good system. They've got the best goals against per game in the league right now. Eichel looks good. Chandler Stevenson got the promotion. He's dominating. DB, we'll start with you with what's going on with Vegas. You saw them this year already, and there's a lot to like.
Yeah, clicking on all cylinders. And you mentioned the two young goalies. Well, and Aiden Hill's not that young, but Logan Thompson's been carrying most of the water there. But now Laurent Brossoit is coming back. He's going to be healthy. But the one thing that you knew that was really good about this team was their defense. The top-notch defense. You got Pietrangelo, Martinez, McNabb, Nick Hague, one of Dave's guys. And they have only given up 19 goals in 11 games. You're going to win a lot of games at that clip, Zach. There's no doubt about that. So the goal differential is plus 16. My question is, are they going to stay healthy? Is Jack going to get through 82 games? Same thing with Mark Stone. Is he going to stay healthy? But if they're going to play like this, and again, I know Bruce Cassidy wore out his welcome in Boston. But that team was a 107-point team under him last season. So there's no question this guy can coach. If he spruces up their power play, that'll help this team even more. They've won 5 straight. They're the best team in the division right now. Kind of a shock to me because I didn't think the goaltending would come through. I think they struggle a little bit more to score. But right now they are a very solid team. They look like the team, a little short of what the team was that went to the Cup final 4 seasons ago.
And the thing with Cassidy is when he came in, he had a conversation with a lot of players, Mark Stone and some of the leaders on this group saying, look, I know I pressed guys in Boston and I pressed them to the point where I started pressing the wrong buttons. I was pressing them too hard. I've recognized that. I'm going to be better with this group. It's a fresh start for me. I'm going to bring them in my system, but I'm going to be more open with the players. And so far, I think the reception has been good. And there's been good back and forth between the coaching staff and the players. And I think that's leading into why they are so solid to start this season. The offensive guys are getting the job done. And defensively, like DB was saying, they're shutting down the opposition. I mean, Logan Thompson has been great, but defensively they've been strong in their structure, playing a defensive-minded game to help out the rookie goaltender. So when you've got that clicking and you've got the offense rolling, I mean, that leads obviously to good things on the ice and good things for us if we're focusing on this team and trying to play this particular club. They're going to bring the offense, and most nights, and there's going to be the odd one here and there where they're going to give up a few too many, but most nights they're keeping the goals low from the opposition. So it's a good opportunity right now because they're feeling it to ride these Vegas Golden Knights for the first couple of months that we're a month in. So I guess for at least another month to see if they can maintain that ride. And they're not it's a pretty good bet right now.
And so are the Boston Bruins, right? We were talking about Bruce Cassidy. Yeah. Let's talk about his old team because they're doing just fine with Jim Montgomery behind the bench. 9-1 right now, first in goals per game. Everything's clicking. They just got Marchand back, and they don't even have McAvoy back yet, but home some of these other guys, a lot of good players, and for that matter, money lines, puck lines that I'm looking at with Boston DB. They're a good bet going forward, and that's a team that I think you were on the bubble about kind of coming into this year, but they've proved a lot of people wrong so far.
Yeah, well, they've scored 4.5 goals a game Zach. So they're going to win every game if they're going to score 4.5 goals a game. Last night was a stirring comeback in Pittsburgh. That game was over, right? And then they pulled Omar. Swayman got hurt. They put him back in the game. This team hasn't quit. And again, it's a situation where sometimes a different voice motivates a team. But this is the thing. And the reason I have reservations about them, Zach, is that their top two centers, as great as they are in Bergeron and Krejci, are 37 and 36 years old. So I think certainly injury factors coming into the season with McAvoy, with Marchand, who's back now, with Riley. I'm concerned about at the back end what this team's going to look like health-wise. If they're like this team, and David Krejci just makes this team different. It's chemistry and Pasternak. That Charlie Coyle wasn't the answer. Eric Holla wasn't the answer last year. They're just a far superior team when David Krejci's in the lineup. Now, maybe it's one more season and that's it, probably what it's going to be. But with him in as a 2C, you can see it's a very different Boston team, especially up front.
As certain guys have stepped up. You talked about it, Zach. You mentioned Hampus Lindholm. Well, I mean, over a point a game right now. The guy's rolling for the Boston Bruins. And I think in his first 10 games of the season, I mean, he's up to 11 points. I think the only defenseman in Bruins history that have gotten more than that, and I think in the recent era, was Ray Bourque. So, yeah. I mean, Lindholm he's stepped up from an offensive catalyst perspective from that blue line with McAvoy out. David Pasternak has just been ridiculous. Contract year Pasternak is really clicking in. So if cha-ching. I mean, and this on a variety of fronts. If you're looking at, some nights if you got a couple goals, the last night, for example, and they're playing today, which they're not, but as an example, maybe you ride him on the points instead of you going back-to-back on goals because he's going to dish the puck as well. So, but he's rolling and he's feeling it. So he may have potted in one or two the night before in the next game, maybe go on the point total for him because he's just riding. And he's going to want to get this going. And I keep saying it. Everyone's like, is it going to be 10 million or this? I'm thinking you're in the $11 million range for David Pasternak on a new contract. So he wants to make sure he's getting this. And if you want to get a little bit of, maybe go the point route on Pasternak.
Yeah. The cap going up too. So who knows what his cap hit could be. It could be high. One more team I want to talk about from yesterday, because this is a team I want to bet on quite a bit. So the New Jersey Devils, we talked about them last week. We said, I don't know what to make of them, or at least I did. And now they're fourth in goals per game, first in goals allowed per game. So they're doing pretty well. Fourth in penalty kill percentage. Obviously, they gave up a couple of power play goals yesterday, but they scored a shorty. Dave, what do you make of the Devils? Do you want the overs? Do you want the shot props? Because they're averaging a 39-21 advantage in the shots per game. Jack Hughes had 8 yesterday. Who are you looking at for New Jersey going forward?
Well, you're going point total. First of all, I'm attributing a lot of the defensive play. John Marino has been fantastic. He has been a ridiculously good ad for this club. Now, he's chipped in a little bit offensively, but this is a guy that is really stabilizing things on that back end for the New Jersey Devils when he's out there. So that's a good thing. But, I mean, look at Nico Hischier is having an offensive coming out party this season. And Jesper Bratt has been
massive,
fantastic. He's been really
points in every game. Yeah.
It just and consistent. And this is another guy that kind of banked on himself because he's going to need a new contract. He only signed a 1-year deal, but this is a guy that kind of banked on him when they were going through the negotiation process with the Devils that were playing him very, very hard. Now he can turn around if he keeps this going. He's going to want to. He's going to go in and go, okay, well, guess what? This is going to cost you a little bit. So, look, Hischier and Hughes hasn't really exploded yet, and he's going to be due at some point. So, I mean, this might be a perfect storm for the New Jersey Devils. I was with you. I think, DB, you were too, that we thought this team, at best, maybe they're going to be a wild card contender, or at least in that conversation, because we didn't know if some of these guys were able to step up. And we're seeing it so far. And this isn't that anomaly, oh my gosh, they had a couple good games. They've been riding it since the start of the puck drop of the season.
Yeah, the anomaly is chanting "Fire Lindy" after 2 games. That was the anomaly, right?
Yeah.
I mean, when fans can have their opinions, but this guy was going
so reactionary.
Yeah. Oh, really? Wow. You two live in a city. It's really reactionary. You haven't talked about the team in Toronto, but New Jersey. Look, here's the thing. You're right about the shot props. Like Jack's over 4 a game, and the other guy's Dougie Hamilton. We even talked about. He's healthy. he's going to get probably 3 to 4 shots a game. So I think for a shot prop, also look out Dougie Hamilton. He's going to be playing 21 minutes a night. He's going to be running the power play. He has the ability to get his shot to the net from the point. So that would be another prop I'd look at. And the Devils are playing great. And you mentioned overall shot totals, Zach. This is a really damn good puck possession team right now. They hold the puck in the zone. They get, like you mentioned, a lot of opportunities. So it's not surprising that this team has risen. I don't think they're a playoff team just yet because I have doubts about the defense, the depth of the defense, and still the goaltending. But from an offensive standpoint, they have a lot of players. And the one guy that we haven't talked about, who's not a primetime player, but I love, is my Newfie guy, Dawson Mercer. He is. I really, really like that kid. He's getting a lot of experience early on. I really like the kid from Newfoundland. But it's a great story for New Jersey early on the season through, 10 games?
Yeah. Keep your eye on New Jersey. A lot of good players there that are off to strong starts. So let's get into tonight's games. It's just a 2-game slate, so we've got plenty to talk about for both of those games. We got to start with the Leafs. You mentioned it, DB. Dave and I live here. We know all too well. We've probably got a lot of friends who are ripping their hair out and just trying to figure out what's going on because, in all honesty, it's been a cakewalk of a schedule to start the year, and they just have not been up to the task. Seems like they're constantly chasing the game. They're taking penalties. They're just not quite there. They're trying to go through guys instead of around. It's just it's not there right now. But that said, DB, you do have a prop when it comes to Philly for this game.
Yeah, I don't know how you could bet what's going on in Toronto. And I saw them in Los Angeles, and I saw them live in Los Angeles in the other 2 games. They just look lifeless. They look like they're going through the motions at game 11 or 12 or whatever it is. So I have to play Philadelphia tonight. And I got a price of what? At 2.5 on the puck line from power play at -143. So, yeah, I'm going to grab Philadelphia plus. Because I think even if Toronto wins, it's going to be a close game because Philly stays in games. You saw it last night, that battle between Carter Hart and Igor Shesterkin was fantastic. Chris Kreider closed the show, but I like Philadelphia. I'm going to get 2.5 goals because I have zero faith in Toronto right now. I don't know. They need a lot more to turn it around than just a win.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly. Like, the Leafs should win tonight. Like, let's be honest. There's injuries in Philly. Carter Hart's likely not playing, so they should win. But when the Leafs should win, they often don't. So I'm staying away.
They should have won in San Jose and Anaheim.
Okay, they should have beat Arizona at home. I mean,
and there's more pressure tonight.
Because they got Boston coming up on Saturday, and then Vegas, and then Pittsburgh. Like, it doesn't get easier for the Leafs. So I'm staying away from taking the Leafs or taking Philly in this one because the should really scares me when you get to that point of a game for this particular team. But I am going to take the over. I'm taking over 4.5 goals in this game. I'm also taking an empty netter in this one. So I was debating. I'm like, I think it's going to be close, but I think it's going to be like a 2-goal kind of win for whoever comes out on top. So I'm going with the prop on the empty netter. I'm definitely going that. And with all the BS that's surrounding Mitch Marner right now, I'm not going point total because, again, the should scares me, but I am taking the 2.5 plus on shots for Mitch Marner. I think he's going to come out, be aggressive tonight. Whether he ends up getting an assist or lighting the lamp, we'll have to wait and see. He looks like he might be a little snake bit, but I think he's going to be a little bit more aggressive. So I'm taking him on the over 2.5 shot total tonight, and we'll see. But
yeah, I've got one more prop on that game. I've got on the Philly side Travis Konechny. He's going to get more than 2.5 shots tonight at -130. So I really like Travis because Travis had a great start. He's been one of the leaders for Philadelphia. I think he's going to get off a lot of shots tonight in Toronto.
Yeah, there are actually quite a good amount of things to look at for Toronto's side. I mean, in terms of shot props, Dave, you mentioned it. But Philly gives up a lot. I mean, Carter Hart's been great. You said he's probably not playing tonight. They played last night, and he certainly stole a point for them. So you got to think they give him a bit of a rest. And you're right, it is a should win for Toronto, but it's not always the case. But I mean, they're giving up a lot of shots right now. They haven't faced under 30 shots. At least Carter Hart hasn't, but they've been giving up quite a bit. So Austin Matthews, he's averaging 4.8 shots a game. We could round that up to 5. But again, we said Philly gives up a lot, and he's actually the only anytime goal scorer on BetMGM and DraftKings that is minus money. So Vegas certainly thinks that Matthews is getting on the board. And you mentioned Mitch, Dave, but is Austin somebody that you touch for tonight too?
Yeah, well, look, part of the same line. If they're going to keep them together, then maybe that's where maybe Austin's the guy that ends up putting it in the back of the net, and Mitch jumps in on an assist or a point or two, something tonight. I'm sticking with the shot total because this game just scares me. But look, Austin's going to be another one that you're probably, if you want to go shot total on it, that's not the. I mean, I would imagine he's going to be a lot more aggressive tonight. I think that line, if they're staying together with Michael Bunting on the left side, I think they need to be more aggressive tonight. And I think because Mitch is going to have a little fire under his butt for a variety of reasons, I think they may piggyback off that too. So, I mean, that might not be the worst thing, certainly, to go after not just Mitch Marner, but maybe Austin Matthews as well, because I think Mitch is going to try to lead that. Maybe he ends up doing a little bit too much, but I think he's going to lead it. So, I mean, I'm sticking with that. And if you're going shot total with Austin Matthews as well, probably going to go high on that one because, like as DB said, the Flyers give up a lot. So we'll see how that one goes.
A lot of cats holding futures on Austin Matthews winning the Rocket Richard. They're sweating right now.
But he did get off to a bad start last year, so we never know. I mean, he can score in bunches, right? Better than anybody. And I think his shot prop for tonight is at 3.5. So I think he might have gone under that once, maybe not even at all. So pretty good bet there.
Not bad.
Yeah. Okay, so let's move on to Pittsburgh and Buffalo. That's the second game of the night. It's only a 2-game slate. We talked a bit about Pittsburgh yesterday, right? I mean, blowing the 5-2 lead, like DB said, the game was over, or at least it felt over, especially with Swayman getting pulled, Allmark coming back in. Yep. Crazy game, but Boston's just had that kind of year. Everything's kind of going their way right now, and they reunite Gensel, Crosby, Rust, but they don't have Letang. He might not play again tonight. Let's talk about my guy, Tage Thompson, right? No Chris Letang, bit of an easier matchup for him tonight. A lot of props, Dave, could go his way. And with the stretch that he's on right now, even over just the last 2 games, he's a guy that everybody's going to want to be riding for tonight.
Yeah, most likely. And you got to imagine that Pitt's going to want to ride him too, defensively. So they may put a little bit more pressure on him. And it's going to be a good test for him and for the Sabres. To be put in this type of a position for a team that's probably really pissed off on how they lost last night. So there's going to be a little bit more of a motivator. It looks like the Smith will be in net, but you're going to look at Pittsburgh being a little bit more aggressive tonight. And that might also be not just from an offensive side of things, but also from a defensive side of things. So as good as Tage Thompson has been and as offensively potent that he's been, I mean, him and Rasmus Dahlin are leading the team both with 12 points so far on the season. And that's a guy, I would throw something down on Dahlin tonight, probably more than I would Tage Thompson, because I think they're going to be gunning for Thompson from a defensive side of things, and maybe throw something on Dahlin's side of things. I would probably go that route. I'm not sure which way this game is going to go, DB, but I'm taking the Sabres tonight on the race to 3 because I think goals continuing. But I'm going to take Buffalo on that race to 3 and maybe take the first period probably as this highest scoring period for this game.
Yeah, well, when you're 6'7" and you play center, you always have the puck. You're going to shoot it. So I'm not sure he's going to score tonight, but I think Zach and I are on the same. Over 3.5 shots at -114 for Tage Thompson. He may not score, and you're right. They may pay more attention to him, but without Letang, he might score. But I think that shot total's low for Tage, coming off that 6-point triumph he had the other night.
Yeah, I think his shots per game in the last 3, I could be wrong, but I think it's 8, 8, 9. So if it's 3.5, give me that. And again, without Letang, maybe they go a bit harder on him, but I mean, that's a pretty good one. Pittsburgh's lost 5 straight. Right. Might be a bit more aggressive, and that might open up some things for Tage Thompson. So we'll see. And then let's also talk. Sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I was just I'm gonna throw down. You mentioned the losing streak there, and you look at the other guys doing some damage offensively, and looks like Connor McDavid may have just scored right now because he just keeps putting the puck in the net. I think Sid's going to answer on that one. So if I'm taking another goal scorer tonight, at least in this game, I'm going Sidney Crosby for an anytime goal.
Yep, Sid scored yesterday, so let's see if he can do it in
going
games. Yeah, a lot of guys are hot, right? Skinner, Tuck, you mentioned Dahlin, who might be leading the Norris candidacy right now. My guy Erik Karlsson's up there too, so the two Swedes. So Rasmus Dahlin, DB, he is really. I feel like he got a bit more comfortable when Granato took over, And now he's starting to come into his own, right? A full season with a new coach, some more surrounding players around him. And Dahlin is a guy certainly that I would go hard on tonight too, like Dave said.
Yeah, well, it takes years for NHL defensemen to mature, sometimes till their mid-20s. And it's sooner for Dahlin because obviously he's a first overall pick, so that's not really an issue. But it's amazing, Zach, that players get more productive when better players are around them. And that's what's actually happening in Buffalo. They actually have good players on the team now. And I think the presence of Owen Power, I think that lessens the pressure on Dahlin because some of the attention on the blue line goes to Owen Power. Not that Owen Power is the player that Dahlin is right now, but this kid has tools and gifts, and they were right. Look, a couple seasons ago, he had a horrible season, Rasmus Dahlin, and there were some rumors maybe you could get him on a cheap or something like that. They remain patient, and now he's part of something that's growing very, very well. Tonight, I gave you my own prop on Tage Thompson. If you're not playing over in this game based on what you've seen from Buffalo and last night from Pittsburgh, I'm sorry, and maybe I'm wrong, and I'm wrong all the time, but over a 6.5 at -110, you got to play. You have that's what you have to play. Yeah. It's not that it's going to win, but how do you not play that that bet tonight based on the offensive gifts both teams have?
The smart play. And you look at Dahlin, he's averaging over 25 minutes a game. You go back to Power, he's averaging just over 22, but I think he's got like 8 or 9 shots on the season. Dahlin is over 30. He's at 31, 32 shots so far on the season. So he's getting his looks too. And Thompson's at 39 now on the season. This little 3-game bump has really helped him out on that regard. But, Dahlin's getting those looks. So, if you're throwing down something on another shot total, maybe you go his route, maybe you go point route, which is probably what I would do tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Lots to look at for that game for sure. Now, we talked a little bit about our props of the day, our best bets of the day as well, but let's just recap it to end off with these segments. So, Dave, your best prop bet coming into tonight.
Yeah, so for me, it's going to be the Mitch Marner 2.5 shot total plus on that one for the player prop. I just think Mitch is due to have an aggressive game tonight. Again, I don't know if it ends up, hitting the actual score sheet with a goal or an assist or anything like that, but I think he's going to be very aggressive tonight. So from a player prop perspective, I'm going on Mitch Marner for over 2.5 shots tonight.
And DB's prop.
I'll leave you with the tagline on Tage Thompson. I'll just say Tage Thompson over 3.5 shots at -114.
Okay, so we'll do that. And then I'm just going to go with my classic value pick over 2.5 shots for Dylan Cousins with plus money, just because he's been shooting a lot more now. I think, again, things will open up for him with some of the other guys having big nights. And Pittsburgh gives up a lot. So, we'll see. And with no Letang, that's a big factor. DB, we'll stick with you for your best bet of the night. I know we touched on these, but just to recap.
Yeah, easy money. Pittsburgh, Buffalo going over 6.5 total tonight at KeyBank.
Yeah, I'm riding that one. I think we were all talking about it before.
We're going down together on this one. Okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely riding that one. I think we're going to see some exciting hockey tonight there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, these are 2 of the top 4 scoring teams per game. So I think you're right, DB. You said even if it doesn't win, you kind of have to play it. If you don't, then you're just not looking deep enough, right? It just makes sense to go under. And again, I keep mentioning no Letang because I just remember, right? I mean, even the year they won the cup with Letang barely playing, they're just a different team without him. And I think he brings a whole other element that, frankly, nobody else on their team does. They've been without Crosby and Malkin quite a bit and still been fine. But without Letang, it just seems to be different. So we're all in agreement there. That's where we're going, over 6.5 for Pittsburgh Buffalo. Just seems like the best play right now. So thanks for listening to the Edge Work on the Hammer Betting Network. Make sure to like, subscribe, follow us, and check out the Fourth Period with Dave Pagnotta, Dennis Bernstein. And for Zack Bodenstein and them, I will see you next time.